Jade Druid. It has to be better than Beast Druid. Is it better than all, like, 4 or 5 of those archetypes? I don't know. We'll find out once we play with Jade, right? We have to figure out how good Jade is. Without playing it, it's tough to evaluate. So anyway, moving on, we got Jade Blossom. So in the Jade Druid deck, this card seems like a staple. If you have Coin Wild Growth, you can play it turn 2, which is actually a very big deal. A lot of the Druid decks lately are not really playing 3-mana plays. They're only running like Feral Rage, which you don't usually keep, so you don't usually play it on curve. So, since the days that Shade of Naxxramas rotated out, we haven't really seen Druid playing 3-drops too often. So that's kind of why this card's interesting to me. It actually gives you, a 3-mana play that's proactive. So, my feedback on all the Jade cards is they're definitely playable, right? The deck definitely seems good, but is it like Beast Druid good, where it's good, but it's not as good as like just Barnesing into Gadgetzan and Ragnaros and stuff and just doing the same stuff you're already doing? Like, are the existing Druid decks just better than the Jade Druid decks? I don't know. If they are, then everyone will be like, oh, Jade was such a dumb mechanic, it never saw play, even though it is good, it's playable. But then there's the other side of that, where it's better than the existing Druid decks, in which case people just play, Jade decks instead, which are all just broken. Because for them to see more play than the existing Druid deck, which is broken, they have to be super broken. And it might be the case. Until I actually play with them, I can't say for sure. So, long story short, I think the best list of Druid is most likely some sort of Jade Spell Druid hybrid. Between that and Token Druid, I would say, because these Druid gets so featured. But yeah, we'll see how it works. I think regardless, a format-defining card, 2 format-defining cards that we'll see play together are going to be Barnes and Ragnaros. And I think that almost every deck that you build is going to be built from those. Because they're both just like big cards on their own that give you free wins in games you have no business winning. On top of that, they're both very strong proactive plays. So, and they synergize together. So I think Barnes Rag, just because of how powerful those 2 neutral cards are in like every class, are actually kind of metagame defining cards in the format. Much the same way that Sludge Belcher was when Naxxramas first came out. You're playing 2 Sludge Belchers in every single deck, so including Hunter and everything. So yeah, basically, this card is good. You'll only see it frequently on ladder in the first week of the set you'll only see it on ladder the very first week or 2 weeks that Mean Streets of Gadgetzan is released. And then one of 2 things will happen. You'll never stop seeing it because it's broken, or you will never see it again like Cthulhu Druid, which by the way, it's another archetype of Druid that's also a good deck. It's just worse than the Spell Druid ever so slightly. So you don't see it at all. So yeah, I mean, that's my opinion on it. I think there's just so many builds of Druid, and they all do the same thing, which is cross their fingers and hope they draw Innervate Wild Growth. And whichever deck is better when it draws Innervate Wild Growth, which right now happens to be the Spell Druid deck, the Malagos one, that's the list that you see played non-stop. So, is this Cthulhu Druid level good? Is it Spell Druid level good or better? I can't say until we play with it. Jade Behemoth, alright, 3-6 taunt, Battlecry Symbol, Jade Golem, pretty straightforward. I think that the beauty of the way Druid decks are built right now is there's so much card draw. You're playing double Nourish, you're playing double Azure Drake in basically every list. Your Wrath cycles, your Raven Idol gives you stuff that cycles, you might be playing Gadgetzan Auctioneer, you Barnes into stuff. It's just, there's a lot of ways to draw cards, and because there's a lot of ways to draw cards, and because of how precious every slot in your deck is going to be after this set is released, I don't think this makes the cut. It's not weak, it's not like it's not overcosted or anything, it's just like, I would rather play a Nourish and like play the 1-mana Jade Idol card, right? It's called Jade Idol, right? I'd rather play the 1-mana Jade card, right? Go off next turn even more with a bunch of spells, rather than spending a turn playing Jade again. So I don't think this will see play even in the Jade deck. It's kind of like playing Cthulhu's Chosen and Cthulhu Druid. Like, you can It'll make your Cthulhu even bigger. This will make your Jade Golems even bigger. But will they be... Like, does that mean it's still optimal to play over just cards that draw you into better Jade Idol cards? That's the question. Jade Idol, on the other hand, spells, man. 1-mana spells that just do stuff are so nuts, especially in Druid right now. I mean, people talk about like Arcane Giant being broken, but Arcane Giant isn't even in every Druid deck. You know what is in every Druid deck? Raven Idol. Like, just by like play percentage, Raven Idol is arguably more broken than Arcane Giant. So Jade Idol is yet another 1-mana spell you're playing in Druid. So now you're playing like double Innervate, double Wild Growth, 6 1-mana spells, right? You have 2 Living Root, 2 Raven Idol, 2 Jade Idol. That's a lot of cheap spell effects, to the point where like I think what you want to be doing is just playing like all the Jade ramp, drawing a bunch of cards, and making a bunch of Jade Golems and Arcane Giants. And then your deck is like 2 Arcane Giants, a Barnes, a Rag, a couple Azure Drakes, and you just like, maybe you don't even play Barnes, but you know what I mean. It's all spells and card draw and Discraft, and I think that's probably the best list of Druid. Again, I have to test like every build of it to really know for sure, but Jade Idol seems it's strong, right? I mean, if people are saying it's like broken, I think people are kind of overrating the card. I think the fact that you shuffle stuff into your deck is not as relevant as they think it is. Although the fact that you can do that might mean that double Gadgets in Auctioneer becomes kind of the standard. I could see that. I could see, because you're playing so few minions, if you play double Gadgets in 1 Barnes, it's actually like super powerful. Because of how often you're going to hit that. So yeah, you only have 4 bad hits, right? You have your Arcane Giant you probably have to play, but you don't necessarily. You have your 10-mana King guy from this expansion. You have your Azure Drakes, right? So it's like 5 bad hits, and then you have 2 Gadgetsons and a Rag, which just like win you the game a lot of the time. But yeah, it's a powerful card. Definitely seeing play in the Jade Idol deck. Will you play it as like a 1-of to stop yourself from dying to fatigue? In like Spell Druid? God no. Of course not. It's a terrible idea. When's the last time you actually remember dying to fatigue as Druid? It happens like 1 in a million games. I've like never seen it. So I don't see. I mean, I have seen it, but it's rare. It's super rare. So even against Control Warrior, I don't see this seeing play outside of like a dedicated Jade Idol deck. That's where I think it's people are kind of overrating it. You're not going to play it more than that, but it is good in that deck, right? It's a core part of it. We got Celestial Dreamer is the next card. It's a 3-mana, 3/3 Battlecry. When the minion is 5 attack or more, gain +2/+2. So I did the math on this card, and I'm like, you know, if it's a 3-mana 3/4, if it just had 1 more health, would I put it in my deck anyway? And I think the answer is almost always no. Like, it's so hard to fit cards in Druid right now because there's so many cards that are good. Like, the payoff for this is getting a 3-mana 5/5, which is not really like I auto win the game. You can't do it on curve. It's just, it's too situational, the payoff is too low, and the bar for making it into a deck, especially a Druid deck, is so stupidly high after this expansion. Like, your card has to do broken crap all the time to ever see play in the Druid deck, because there's so many expansions at the same time, and every expansion is doing something degenerate, so your whole deck needs to be doing broken stuff now. And this card is not broken, it's just passable value, you know? But yeah, I don't mind the design, it's kind of cool. Moving on, we got Vermin Sensei, Battlecry, give a friendly beast +2/+2. It's worse than Stranglethorn Tiger because it doesn't work with Menagerie Warden. It's worse than Druid of the Claw for the same reasons. Do you really want more than 4 or 5 drops to begin with? Probably not, but if you do, you probably just play Azure Drake and Curator. So, I don't think this will see play ever. I think if it had like pit fighter stats to begin with, we could start talking, but this is just a incredibly weak Beast Druid card. It's like incredibly weak. This will never see play in my opinion. But you know, I mean, maybe it could, like a full dedicated Beast deck, but even then, you have to hit it on curve, and then it's only like okay then. I'm thoroughly Alright, moving on, we got Lunar Vision, just a 5-mana draw too. So, more Druid card draw, especially card draw that's spell-based, is so important, because if it's spell-based, it's not going to mess up your Barns, it's going to reduce the cost of your Arcane Giants in more ways than one. It's going to work with Gadgetzan Auctioneer, which doesn't really apply to this card, but in general it could. It's going to enable combos with Malagos and Gadgetzan if you get either of those off of this thing. Lunar Visions is just a very... It's like very inefficient card draw in a lot of ways, but it's also like an effect the deck kind of wants. Like you kind of, at a certain point, because we have so many ramp spells available now, like you just want more card draw. And I think the card that's going to do that is Gadgetzan Auctioneer, but maybe, just maybe, Lunar Visions somehow makes it in. I'm going to say it's unlikely, because you're only going to want this kind of card draw in a deck that's already almost all spell-based, so you're not going to be drawing minions too often. So yeah, I don't expect Lunar Visions to see much play for those reasons, but it's not like completely awful, right? Like I can say the same thing every other set review will tell you, which is like, oh, if you hit 1 minion on average, it'll like the same as Arcane Intellect, so you should have 15 minions for it. But realistically, man, build a Druid deck in your mind. It's all broken 2-heads, right? 2 Living Roots, 2 Raven Idol, 2 Innervate, 2 Wild Growth, 2 Swipe, 2 Azure Drake, 2 Nourish. You just go down the list, and then you pick an archetype, right? So, like, I want to be the Jade deck, so then you add 2 Jade Idol, 2 Jade Ramp Spell, Panda Skank, whatever her name is, the 6-mana 5/3 thing that makes more Jade Idol thing. You know what I mean? Like, Gadgetzan Barnes package, maybe, Ragnaros. If you're like a edgy European pro player, you'll cut a card, add a mulch in, or name it something different, new archetype, PogChamp. You know, there's just not much room for innovation, is what I'm saying. So, within Druid, that is. So, because of that, cards really have to be stupid good to make the cut. Lunar Visions is not stupid good. It might be a role player, that's about it. So, moving on, we got Kuhn the Forgotten King, who is stupid good. He's Arcane Giant, but better. Mostly because of the armor option. It's easier to get to 10 mana than it is to play 12 spells. So any deck that plays Arcane Giant's already going to play this guy, either in addition or instead of one of them. The only thing I don't like about this card is it makes Barnes worse, and I like stealing wins with a card that shouldn't be in the game. So, yeah, Kuhn the Forgotten King, just put it in your Druid deck, man. Unless it's like Beast Aggro Druid. Like, if you're playing Wild Growth, play this card. It's a mistake not to. It's very good, very flexible. I like it. Yeah, good card. Key thing here is it also refreshes your mana crystal. It doesn't add 10, so you can't like innervate it out and get double value out of your innervate. That's a good way to balance it on their part. So, yeah, still pretty good. I mean, that's it for Druid cards. Overall, might be the best class in the game. Might be better than Shaman now, but that's only if the Jade cards are broken. I'm not sure if they are until I play with them. That's just something that's going to take time to figure out. Moving on, we got Hunter. We got this card Alley Cat, which I don't remember them like spoiling outside of the last day where they just spoiled everything. At least I hadn't seen it before then, which is weird to me because it's like a class-defining card. Like Alley Cat is, you're just gonna play 2 of it in all your Hunter decks. And I think it's correct too. I'm like pretty sure it's correct too. It's 1 mana 2/2, man. It's Living Roots, and you always get the dudes, and it's a beast. Like this card is good. I'm like, I know it's good. I don't know if it's auto include good, but I'm pretty sure it's auto include good. The only thing that might keep it down in this specific metagame is the fact that the Zoo decks nowadays are all 1/3 minions, so that kind of sucks. So against Zoo, it's just the worst, but I mean that matchup's always going to be bad for you. And you don't have to keep it against Zoo, and it's not even always bad. Sometimes they open on Flame Imp, and you can trade into that. Second thing is, Priest is going to be a deck now. They added that class to the game, so that means Northshire Cleric. That means the 1 mana 2/2 gain 4 life guy. It's a lot of stuff that can test this. The 1 mana 2/2 guy is not a big deal, but Northshire Cleric is a big deal. So, you know, it's not as good because of how many 1/3s there are, but I mean it's a 1-mana 2/2 beast. Like, you're desperate for playable 1-drops in Hunter right now. Anyway, you're like playing Secret Keeper garbage. It's like, have you played turn 1 Secret Keeper, turn 2 Kindly Grandmother, and then just like wondered where you went wrong in life? That's how I feel when I play Hunter. So yeah, it's a good 1-drop. You should play it. Moving on, we got Smuggler's Crate. So when you first evaluate this card,